Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel.
Mansion scandal. When family secrets unravel in Port Charles. The Quartermaine name has always carried weight in Port Charles, a legacy of money, influence, and complicated relationships. But recent events have shattered the carefully constructed facade of this powerful family, revealing a darker truth beneath the glimmering surface. The forged will of Monica Quartermaine and the desperate schemes surrounding the family estate have exposed betrayals that no amount of Quartermaine wealth can fix, leaving the family reeling and facing serious legal consequences. The perfect inheritance scheme crumbles. For weeks, the residents of Port Charles were led to believe that Monica Quartermaine had left her entire estate, including the prestigious Quartermaine mansion, to her sister, Ronnie Bard. The story seems straightforward, yet too convenient. Ronnie, a newcomer to the family, suddenly found herself in possession of one of the most valuable properties in Port Charles. But what appeared to be Monica's final wishes was nothing more than an elaborate deception orchestrated by attorney Martin Gray. The scheme was brilliant in its simplicity and ruthless in its execution. Martin, utilizing his legal expertise and his contempt for Tracy Quartermaine, convinced Ronnie to participate in creating a false will. The manipulation wasn't subtle. According to reports, Martin even administered medication to Ronnie without her consent, exerting control over her to ensure compliance with his plans. "I can't believe Martin would do this to our family," one family member was overheard saying as the truth began to emerge. The shock was palpable, resonating through the mansion and across Port Charles. The real will emerges. Everything changed when Tracy Quartermaine discovered the authentic will that Monica had carefully prepared before her death. This discovery wasn't accidental, it was the result of Tracy's relentless determination to uncover the truth. The real will revealed a dramatically different picture from what Martin and Ronnie had fabricated. According to Monica's genuine final wishes, the Quartermaine mansion wasn't left to Ronnie alone. Instead, the valuable property was to be divided equally among three beneficiaries: Jason, Tracy, and Michael. The revelation sent shockwaves through the family and laid bare the conspiracy that had been unfolding behind closed doors. Tracy's reaction was immediate and volcanic. Having discovered not only the deception, but also her rightful claim to a portion of her family's most treasured possession, she was, according to witnesses, completely furious. Her anger was justified. She had been deliberately excluded from inheriting what should have been hers, all because of a manipulated will and a scheme designed to benefit others. "This is our home," Tracy declared, her voice cold and measured despite the fury burning beneath. Monica would never leave this place in the hands of someone who doesn't even understand what it means to be a Quartermaine. The criminal conspiracy exposed. As the real will came to light, the full scope of Martin and Ronnie's conspiracy became impossible to ignore. The forged will represented more than just a family matter. It was a criminal act with legal ramifications that neither Martin nor Ronnie could escape. Ronnie found herself trapped in an impossible situation. As a newcomer to Port Charles and to the Quartermaine family, she had been vulnerable to Martin's manipulation. He had controlled her through intimidation and chemical means, ensuring her compliance with his increasingly desperate scheme. When the truth threatened to emerge, Martin's control tightened. He threatened Ronnie with prison, warning her that she would face the full consequences of their fraud while his own role might be downplayed. "You knew what we did," Ronnie said to Martin, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and regret. "You knew it was wrong, and you did it anyway. You threatened me. You said I'd go to prison." Martin's response was cold and calculating. "What choice did you have?" he replied. "You came to Port Charles with nothing. I gave you a family, and this is how you repay me." The forced sale and further manipulation. The conspiracy extended beyond the forged will. Martin had been working in tandem with Drew Kane, forcing Ronnie to sell the mansion to him as part of a larger scheme. Martin's pressure on Ronnie was relentless, leveraging his legal knowledge and her vulnerability to ensure she complied with his demands. "Sell the mansion to Drew," Martin commanded, "or face the consequences. You'll spend years in prison, Ronnie." Years. The threat was effective but unsustainable. Ronnie's conscience began to weigh heavily on her, and the guilt of participating in such an elaborate fraud started to erode her resolve. Meanwhile, the Quartermaine family, particularly Tracy, was gathering evidence and building a case against both conspirators. Legal troubles mount. With the real will now in evidence and Ronnie's potential willingness to cooperate with authorities, both Martin and Ronnie face serious legal jeopardy. Martin's position is particularly precarious. As a practicing attorney, he has violated not only criminal law regarding fraud and forgery, but also numerous ethical standards governing his profession. Martin has to know this is over, a legal analyst noted. The moment Tracy found that will, his entire scheme unraveled. Ronnie will likely take a plea deal and testify against him. Martin's career and his freedom are both at risk now. Ronnie, too, faces criminal charges, but her cooperation could result in a more favorable outcome. She has already begun to express remorse about her involvement in the scheme, and authorities believe she is considering accepting a plea agreement that would involve testifying against Martin. The Quartermaine division. Perhaps most significant is what the Authentic will reveals about Monica's true intentions for her estate. The decision to divide the mansion among Jason, Tracy, and Michael suggests that Monica wanted her most valuable asset to remain within the family, but distributed among those she trusted most. Tracy, as the surviving sister with the strongest claim and the discoverer of the fraud, now stands in a powerful position regarding the mansion's future. Her intentions for the property remain unclear, but family insiders suggest she will fight to ensure that the estate remains within the Quartermaine family's control and doesn't fall into the hands of outsiders like Drew Kane. The house stays in the family, Tracy stated firmly when questioned about her plans. That was Monica's wish, and that is what will happen. The aftermath and consequences. The scandal has sent ripples throughout Port Charles's legal and social circles. For Martin, a respected attorney who has now revealed himself to be willing to exploit his professional position for personal gain, the fallout is catastrophic. His legal license faces revocation, and criminal prosecution appears inevitable. Ronnie faces an uncertain future. While her cooperation might spare her from the harshest penalties, she will nonetheless carry the mark of this scandal for years to come. Her attempt to build a new life and integrate into the Quartermaine family has been derailed by Martin's manipulation and her own poor judgment in participating in the scheme. The Quartermaines themselves must grapple with the reality that someone they welcomed into their family and inner circle orchestrated such an elaborate deception. The betrayal runs deep, challenging the family's trust in one another and raising questions about who can be relied upon. Conclusion. The Quartermaine mansion will scandal represents a cautionary tale about ambition, manipulation, and the lengths people will go to achieve their goals in Port Charles. What began as a scheme to torment Tracy Quartermaine and profit from Monica's estate has unraveled into a criminal conspiracy that will reshape the lives of everyone involved. As the legal proceedings move forward, one truth remains clear. The Quartermaine mansion, that symbol of family legacy and power, will remain in the hands of those Monica truly intended, not in those who sought to manipulate her memory for personal gain. Justice, it seems, still has a place in Port Charles, even when it takes a while to arrive. Next, we'll explore the escalating tension in Port Charles as Jen Sidwell's intense fascination with Eva Jerome threatens to spark a wildfire of complications. In the shadowy undercurrents of General Hospital, whispers of danger are growing louder, centered on the enigmatic Jen Sidwell and his burgeoning preoccupation with the formidable Eva Jerome. Since Sidwell's dramatic entrance into the storyline, subtle sparks of attraction have flickered between them, marked by lingering glances across crowded rooms at the Metro Court and cryptic conversations laced with double meanings. These initial encounters, though playful on the surface, carry an undercurrent of something far more volatile, hinting at a connection that could redefine alliances in the quirky town of Port Charles. As the week unfolds from November 3rd to 7th, viewers can expect these flirtations to evolve into something bolder, with Sidwell's gaze sharpening whenever Eva enters a scene. Perhaps during a high-stakes business meeting where their shared ruthlessness shines through. A pivotal moment arrives when Eva, ever the strategist, takes a bold step that not only showcases her unyielding determination, but also captivates Sidwell in ways he hadn't anticipated. Imagine Ava negotiating a shady art deal in the dimly lit backrooms of the gallery. Her sharp wit dismantling opponents with effortless precision. This is the kind of maneuver that will leave Sidwell mesmerized, replaying her words in his mind long after the deal is sealed. Ava Jerome has always been a force of nature, a woman who navigates the treacherous waters of Port Charles with a blend of glamour and grit, pursuing her desires without apology. Her history of resilient comebacks, from surviving assassination attempts to outmaneuvering rivals in custody battles, underscores her appeal as someone who matches Sidwell's own ambitious drive. Sidwell, with his mysterious past tied to international dealings and a knack for bending rules to his will, recognizes in Ava a kindred spirit who could amplify his influence exponentially. This synergy positions them as potential architects of an unbeatable power duo, one that could shake the foundations of Port Charles' elite circles. Picture them collaborating on ventures that blur the lines between legitimate business and underground enterprises, their combined charisma drawing in unwitting allies while repelling foes. Sidwell's vision might extend to joint acquisitions, like snapping up undervalued properties around Spoon Island, turning them into fortresses of their mutual empire. Yet, this budding partnership isn't without rivals. Lucy Coe, the vivacious real estate maven, has been circling Sidwell with her signature flirtatious energy, hosting lavish parties in his honor at the Quartermaine estate. Despite her efforts, Lucy seems destined for the sidelines, their interactions lacking the electric tension needed to ignite a real romance, more like polite banter at a charity gala than the passionate debates Ava and Sidwell share. Without injecting drama from external threats, such as jealous ex-partners or corporate espionage, Lucy and Sidwell's dynamic feels flat, devoid of the explosive narrative hooks that define General Hospital's juiciest arcs. The real turning point crystallizes in the November 7th episode, where subtle shifts propel Ava and Sidwell closer, altering the relational landscape in unexpected ways. This could unfold in a tense confrontation at the hospital, where Sidwell witnesses Ava handling a crisis with her trademark poise, perhaps defending a loved one against bureaucratic red tape. Her vulnerability mixed with strength in that moment seals his intrigue, prompting him to offer unsolicited aid that feels both protective and possessive. However, this evolution doesn't go unnoticed by those who care about Ava's well-being. Lucas Jones, Ava's steadfast ally and a doctor attuned to the town's darker pulses, picks up on the warning signs immediately. Having crossed paths with Sidwell in professional settings, Lucas senses the man's manipulative undertones, reminiscent of past villains who wreaked havoc in Port Charles. He might pull Ava aside in the quiet corridors of General Hospital, urging her to maintain distance. Citing Sidwell's opaque background and rumored ties to offshore financial schemes that could ensnare her in legal nightmares, Ava, however, brushes off the caution with her characteristic defiance, insisting she's more than capable of steering her own course through the flirtations. She could liken it to a harmless diversion, a momentary thrill amid her ongoing battles for stability, downplaying the exchanges as light-hearted banter over cocktails at the Floating Rib. Yet, beneath her bravado lies a flicker of excitement at being pursued by someone who sees her full potential, unburdened by her complicated family history. If Sidwell's interest deepens unchecked, it risks morphing into a full-blown obsession, one that awakens his more domineering instincts. Envision Sidwell shadowing Ava's movements, intercepting her at social events with gifts that border on extravagant, perhaps a rare painting that echoes her artistic tastes while subtly discouraging other suitors. His territorial streak might manifest in jealous outbursts during a group dinner, where he claims her time exclusively, revealing a sinister edge honed from years of cutthroat negotiations. Compounding the peril are Sidwell's latent criminal inclinations, which could pull Ava into a vortex of illicit activities far removed from her current life. His portfolio might include smuggling operations disguised as import-export firms, drawing Ava into dealings that attract unwanted scrutiny from the PCPD or even federal agents. Past episodes have hinted at Sidwell's involvement in identity fraud rings, and aligning with him could expose Ava to betrayals that test her loyalties, forcing her to choose between personal gain and protecting her daughter Avery. As these threads intertwine, other developments in the General Hospital narrative add layers of intrigue. Marco Rios, the brooding heir to the Casa Dini legacy, extends a surprising invitation to Lucas to relocate to the Gothic splendor of Windermere Castle. This offer comes amid rising concerns over Ava's safety, with Marco positioning himself as a vigilant guardian, his motivations perhaps tinged with his own unspoken affections for Lucas. Lucas grapples with the proposal, weighing the isolation of Spoon Island against the strategic advantage of proximity to potential threats. Accepting could allow him to monitor Ava's interactions up close, especially if Sidwell escalates by proposing she join him in a lavish penthouse overlooking the harbor, promising security and luxury in equal measure. Windermere's echoing halls, filled with relics of the Casa Dini dynasty, would serve as an ideal vantage point for Lucas to unravel Sidwell's secrets, perhaps uncovering encrypted files in hidden studies that reveal his true agenda. Ultimately, Ava's flirtation with Sidwell teeters on the edge of catastrophe, weaving her into a labyrinth of deception and desire that could unravel her hard-won progress. As Port Charles braces for the fallout, the question lingers: will Sidwell's obsession transform Ava into his prized possession, unleashing a cascade of dangers that engulf the Jerome legacy? General Hospital teases that their path toward coupledom seems inevitable, fraught with twists that promise to captivate fans. Keep watching for updates on these simmering romances and the shadows they cast across the canvas of drama.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye.